Dora before this that had a hole worn into it, which was okay with me, but you know, it's funky enough wearing a hat on campus here, but wearing one with a hole in it, people react to you kind of strange. That hat had a long history. That hat traveled with me everywhere. This hat has developed a history because of people here, actually. This hat has traveled around campus more than I have. This hat knows more people. It's been on more heads than mine. So I guess, a couple of years, I guess, replacement to the other hat. But I have a lot of hats too. Not as many hats as I have harmonicas, but I have. Yes, sir.
What makes you very sad?
What makes me very sad? Do I look sad to you?
No, you're very talented, and you have a daughter that smiles at you, and I mean, but I know that you probably get sad. So what makes you sad?
Oh, that's. I understand the question now. I didn't understand it at first. Sad. My daughter makes me sad. As much as she can make me happy, she can make me sad when I can't give her what I think she should have because of some failure in my way through the world. That makes me sad. When I can't save my son from some grief that he has to go through because he's an 8-year-old boy, and 8-year-old boys have to go through some grief. That makes me sad. When I argue with my wife, that makes me sad. When I can't pay my bills, that doesn't make me sad, but it's not fun either. Is that good enough?
Lots of questions, but I'm only going to ask one more.
Before you ask, I was wondering whether I should do this thing, because nobody's going to, after I play guitar, was going to expect me to ask for questions, right? But I tested it on my classes today. I asked my classes at the end of class, anybody have any questions that they would like to ask me? Anything you'd like to know about me? And they asked me the silliest question. They asked me if I put my socks on, sock, sock, shoe, shoe, or sock, shoe, sock, shoe.
And the answer is?
Sock, sock, shoe, shoe. They asked me how I like my toilet paper roll. Do I like it? Do I like it so that it's, that you pull up on it, or that you pull down on it? And they were this was very controversial in the class, because somebody said they liked it being pulled up on, and the person that asked the question got really ticked off. She said, it's so hard to rip off that way. And I gotta ask her, we're talking about toilet paper here, right? It's not like it's rubber, right? But she was very upset, and I calmed her down. There was very little damage done. And so after getting questions like that, I figured that's exactly what I needed to do. Any other questions? Yes, my dear.
Do you have a favorite book?
Do I have a favorite book? No, but I have books that meant a great deal to me, that changed my life. God. I read Henry Miller's letters to Lawrence Durrell on an airplane on my way to France with hardly any money in my pocket. That changed my life. There's so many writers, songwriters, poets. When I was a kid in high school and I read Rimbaud, I don't even know if it was a good translation. I heard later on that the translation I read was not the best one. It was the one written by the wife of the composer Ferez, the guy that was into the electronic music. And I heard that was not a great translation. So I read Rimbaud in this translation, and it cut right to my heart. That changed my life. I could go on. Books have changed my life. I've been eating books for as long as my parents would let me. So you have kids, books for your kids, you read to your kids. I had to sneak books in. First poem I wrote that I showed my parents, they called me a liar. That was strange. I don't even remember what the question was. Was I close to answering? Is there another question?
What was the poem about?
What?
What was the poem about?
Oh God, it was probably a pretty awful poem because I've written a lot of really bad poetry. As a matter of fact, that's what I aspired to be at one time in my life, was to be a really bad poet. But I don't remember what it was about, and it probably was sing-songy and rhymed, and it probably was ugly. It probably was filled with all kinds of ugly images because my first writing was just filled with lots of ugly images. But many of our first writings are filled with ugly images, or getting rid of things that we need to get rid of, that we have to burn up before we get down to business, right? I think it's a fairly common experience.
Why are you, this might come out bad, but why are you teaching? Like, it seems like you could be making music or writing more or painting. Or...
But I am doing those things. I do those things every day. I did not mean to be teaching here. It kind of crept up on me. I did it. I had been teaching at Brooklyn College, and I stopped teaching, and I was never really that super into it. I always loved my classes, but I never wanted to make a life as an academic. So when I started teaching here, I did it because I'd been out of the classroom for a while. I was getting all these fellowships from Shoemaker's Tale, and then the kids came along, and I was primary caregiver, and I started really wanting adult conversation. Because I started to sound, because I was talking like this all the time. It's a little embarrassing after a while. So I decided I would try a couple of classes here, and the first couple of years I was here, I always felt like my foot was halfway out the door. I was here, but I wasn't really here, and the problem is, I have great colleagues here. Not everybody, some people are chumps, but I have some great colleagues here, and I have some terrific students, and a whole bunch of them are here today, who are not only students, but friends of mine. And I've got to play a part in the part of their lives that is extraordinarily important to them. That is a tremendous gift, not to them, but to me, to be able to play that part. I get to, some of you have been in my classes, that's performance, right? We sing in there, we dance in there, we create in there, don't we? Am I nuts, or am I going to other classes? Yeah. So this is all things I do, and now this is something that I do, and I don't know how well I do it, or any of these things. It's usually up to other people to decide that. But I'm here, and I got to admit, I still feel like my foot is halfway out the door. But it's not itchy.